AI right now is doing something that no technology or software has been able to do, or even people have been able to do in the really history of our life.
When we first started, I was spending probably $4,000 to $7,000 a month in API tokens. We've dramatically reduced an average of 7,000 down to about 700. I would say we've easily 10x'd the ROI of the agents because everything is just running so much more smoothly. The future belongs to the business owners and leaders who start not with how do I do this, but learn how to start with wow. Welcome back to the Story of Scale podcast. Good to be back in the studio. We're talking more AI architecture.
So fun.
Yes,
so fun.
Yes. Harris, Chad, if this is your first episode, I have a feeling based on what we're getting into, there's some people that are going to come across this podcast for the first time, just because this topic is pretty hot right now. A lot of people are buzzing about it. It's hard to find good resources to help people understand what's going on. And so if you're here for the first time, welcome to the Story of Scale. We're pumped.
We love AI. We just finished a 4-part series, not just, it's actually been out for a couple months now. And we've gotten tons of feedback. And why are we even here about AI? I mean, this is kind of even the question is we're like, there's a lot of things we can talk about. But I think what we've seen is it's unlocked things in our business as business owners who are trying to grow and scale and serve more people that we couldn't have done otherwise. And that's why we're here talking to you as a business owner, as a leader. AI right now is doing something that no technology or software has been able to do, or even people have been able to do in the really history of our life.
Yeah, or the world, you could say.
Yeah.
Or at least the part that we know about. Maybe this is like round 7 or something like
maybe.
that. Or in our section of the metaverse.
And so while we're going to probably, some of this is going to maybe over your head or nerd out about some AI stuff, at the end of the day, our desire is to help you think about your business differently and what's possible in your business. So as you're thinking about this, and we're months down the road, and you may be here, you may be at the beginning, or you're just like sparking an idea. Because I know I've talked to a lot of people and they watched it and they reached out and was like, oh my gosh, like I just need to talk to you and ask questions because I don't even know where to begin. And I think sometimes that can keep people just stalled out because they just don't want to begin. And so my heart is that this is to help you think through, and as we'll talk about this, like if you start with the architecture first and what you want or what you think is possible, rather than just jumping in and doing it, you'll be actually farther ahead, which is almost counterintuitive. But I think that's what, because we've gone ahead, we've made a lot of mistakes. And when I say we, it's a lot of you're doing a lot of this, and you're working your full day, getting up early, working long nights, doing this. I think the episode that got the most views where it was like, hey, I was working on my concrete floor in the basement, launched my first agent, thought you'd build 3.
Yes.
We're sitting here now, when the series we had 27, we're now up to 29. But we've spent a ton of time just harnessing, refining. So just walk us through a little bit of what's transpired the last couple months since the series.
Yeah. Okay, I have so many thoughts. We've got devices out this time in the studio. Last time we shared this, we did screenshots. We're doing a little risky today. I've already got notifications coming in on my phone. So I'm already nervous. I'm like, what are people going to see? But this is a pretty transparent take into phone, apps, Slack channel. And before we jump in, maybe I'm being too sensitive about this, but I just want to name it again in case people missed the last AI-centric series that we did. And that is, like a lot of things that we talk about in this episode, there's tension here. You started by saying everybody's loving AI. Not everybody's loving AI.
This is true.
And yet we're so immersed in this world. I caught myself just a second ago. I said, and not, at least not in our section of the metaverse. What do you mean the metaverse? That's like something that Meta created. I meant the multiverse. And so you can kind of see like already how ingrained we are in all of these terms in this world. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, you have a different relationship probably with the AI conversation. If you're a politician, you probably have a different relationship with the AI conversation. Both like, how do I please constituents and the people who voted for me and all the controversy around data centers. But then on the other side is like, if we stop developing, there's other nations in the world that are not. And so like, there's so much to think about. It's very complex, very nuanced. But I also see, I think there's a lot of articles talking about the distrust of AI right now, especially like AI executives. And do they have our best interest in mind? But I'm also seeing a lot of like misinformation around electricity usage, data usage, water usage starting to get dispelled a bit. And so I don't know, it feels like maybe some of the controversy spiked and now it's leveling out. So I don't want this episode to end up being about that. What I do want is just to acknowledge who we are, which is like, we're not interested in burning the world down. We're not interested in harming communities with data centers being built in stupid places. I don't want friends and family to be able to open their windows at night and then immediately have to close them because they're like, the noise is obnoxious. There's a way to do this. Those are very important conversations for our culture to be having. But obviously, as you're about to see, there's a part of AI that we're all in on. And then there's another part of AI that we are not at all in on. And we can talk about the differences we have.
Well, and you know, and you have to say this because partially, you know, feedback we get, there are some that are concerned. And the majority are thinking about what's possible. I mean, the reality is this is all new. There's a cost to creating anything new. You know, like how many people had to die to figure out how to make an airplane work? You know, I mean, that's just kind of the cost of advancement in our society. That doesn't mean that it's okay, but the reality is, and that's the way that I think about it. You and I think about it a little differently, potentially. You have a bigger platform to be thinking of, you know, to think about that than I do.
It just means I get more hate emails than you do. Yes, it's complicated. It's complicated. And again, it's also very nuanced. And so I know you're an avid golfer. One of the biggest things that people are talking about is water. And I saw a stat even this morning, you know, about it was the comparison between how much water data centers are using in the U.S., like total.
It's a small
versus
fraction
golf courses
compared to golf course.
It's I would say it's not even small. It's like microscopic in comparison. But like no one's trying to outlaw golf courses. And for good reason. Like they're fun and they're beautiful and
gets you active outdoors.
The active outdoors. The landscape is
creates
really
jobs.
pretty. Creates jobs. Yeah. So again, nuance. Stop with the misinformation. Guys, we got to do better with this AI stuff. So if you're coming into this with a judgmental tone, you're going to miss out. I would invite you to come in with an open-minded tone and understand we're not like running servers 24/7, generating like AI slop for YouTube. And like those videos require so much more compute. We're doing basic automation and workflows that make our life easier as entrepreneurs, enable us to allocate more resources to actually hire more humans. AI is not like keeping us from hiring people. We're hiring more and faster because our opportunities are going up. Our revenue is going up because we're getting time back. So this isn't like, oh, I can outsource everything to AI because I can sit on the beach. I'm the kind of entrepreneur that wakes up in the morning thinking about how do I make a bigger difference, not how do I make more money. But we always talk about that Disney quote, he made movies to make money so he could make more movies. AI is helping me make more movies. So it's pretty awesome. So with that said, again, I'm nervous about this because I don't know what's about to happen or what's about to pop up on my screen while we're recording. But dive in and do a little bit.
Yeah, let's dive in. Yeah. So I mean, I think what I'd love to hear, and I'm speaking kind of on behalf of the audience, is okay. What's transpired? There's been a lot of things. I mean, when we started this, there was really no way to kind of use your Claude Max account. So let's just even start here. The expense. People are probably like, hey, how much does this cost? So when we started and we experimented and we kind of just opened the floodgates, walk us through kind of the expense. And now that we've kind of got it harnessed, refined, and say, hey, this is now our kind of operating system, ecosystem, what are we spending? Yeah.
Well, when we first started, I was spending probably $4,000 to $7,000 a month in API tokens. To some people listening, that sounds like an absorbent amount of money. To some people listening,
cheaper than a good employee, typically.
Yeah, and if you are at a large corporation, I mean, their token spend compared to ours as a small business, we're like astronomical ant size expense. But to an average small business owner, to go practically overnight to a new $7,000 a month expense can feel a little bit intimidating. And so I knew it was going to be high. Part of that was this is new.
Yeah, you told us to experiment.
Trial by fire. Yeah, I'm like, go for it. I remember.
You asked us to experiment in public, though, not private with DMs, so that everyone could learn. Correct. Which is good.
Yep. And we might have talked about this on one of the previous episodes in the series, but there was that one morning I woke up early and I was looking at my phone and it was just like I mean, it was like 100 messages within 60 seconds because you had done a prompt and we had agents collaborating with each other. And all I could think was like, how do we slow this down?
How
I'm
much is
spending
this
so much
costing
money
me?
right now.
You didn't even know, but then you looked and it wasn't that much, right?
Yeah, it was like maybe 50 to 100 bucks, but
Yeah.
that thread shouldn't have been 50 to 100
Yes.
bucks. And so I had no idea how to optimize tokens. And then of course, all the stuff about, environmental impact. I'm like, okay, this isn't just about saving money. How do we, from the very beginning, you hear stories of companies trying to reduce their carbon footprint. I'm like, how do we reduce our compute for the sake of efficiency, both for environmental reasons and impact to our checking account and like credit card limits? And so, yeah, about $5,000 to $7,000 kind of hovered around that for the first month or two. Then we learned a lot about the technology through trial and error and go, okay, how do we make this more efficient? I would say we instantly cut that almost in half just by learning about things like heartbeats with our OpenClaw agents, how to stack different models so less expensive models could be used by certain agents for certain workflows. And at the time, everything was also across productized agents like Victor and others like him in the marketplace, and then all OpenClaw. And so since then, we've dramatically reduced an average of 7,000 down to about 700. And that number is very consistent month to month. We have more productivity for more agents at 10% of the cost.
Yeah.
That's very exciting as a business owner.
It's impressive. Like when you told me that number, I was expecting it to still be hovering between 3,000 and 4,000.
Yeah.
And so at $700, and that's with kind of 3 different pieces of technology, in essence, 3 different software platforms. And the reality is we don't know how long that'll stay. That may change.
Totally.
But that's the reality of the danger of recording AI stuff we may teach you today may be non-existent or totally different a month or 2 from now.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff that we were doing a couple months ago that are already very different.
For sure.
There's agents that we have moved over to entirely different ecosystems. But what's exciting is even though we've trimmed the cost by 90%, now we're only spending 10% of what we used to spend, 700 versus 7,000. I would say we've easily 10x'd the ROI of the agents because everything is just running so much more smoothly now.
Yep. I'm curious, share with us, I guess in the last 2 months, like what's 1 or 2 things that you just like have loved? I mean, I think of, we were on the boat as your family was with mine and, the kids are tubing and I see him up there like voice texting. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm on version 84 of an app with Leo creating this thing that I want to do. So tell us a little bit about that. Like that was, but you were fully present. You were still there with the kids. I mean, fully, maybe 99.9%, but you were able to act on an idea without your computer, without Slack, without whatever. And this was an idea that spawned for you as a business owner. I think that genesis, I think people would love to hear.
Yeah. So I think the last series was all about how do you think about AI architecture through the lens of an org chart, right? We talked a lot about how difficult it was for me starting out to imagine all of the agents that it felt like we should have. Because, if you think of as a small business owner, I couldn't imagine just going and hiring 100 people or 27 or whatever. And
I don't recommend that. We don't recommend that with agents right away either.
No. There was a great exercise. We're hanging out with some of our coaching clients in Dublin, and Shane, our COO, we're talking about AI through the lens of an org chart. And I just went through this exercise where I was like, okay, let's just imagine someone walks in and says, here's $1 million. There's no strings attached. It is a gift. And I just want you to go hire people. You have to spend it on payroll. That's the only.
Which is typically what private equity is doing. You are VC. They're like, hey, we're going to raise money and only 80% of that's going to go to people. And it's like, you don't save it, you burn it. Because that's the way to scale is more people, more,
Yeah, but like the moment I was in that headspace, I was like, okay, I have $1 million and I have to spend it on payroll in the next 12 months. Oh my gosh, I could hire this and I could actually have someone exclusively devoted to like uploading these podcast episodes. I could also hire and so just giving myself permission to go explore by way of that train of thought opened up all these ideas of like, oh my gosh, I could actually have these agents do all this stuff. And so I think a lot of small business owners are walking around with like these blinders on of things they could leverage an AI agent to do that they haven't even thought about having an AI agent to do because they've never been in a position where they had the capital to spend on payroll, if that makes sense. So when that happened, there was this transition for me. I was like, oh, I've never even thought about developing apps because it was ludicrous to think that I could hire a developer to go build an app. And you get out of there's like this line between the essential and like luxurious. Like what's a nice to have versus must have. But then you don't realize once you venture into the like, well, I don't have to have an app that does this, but if I could, that'd be pretty cool. And then you can't live without it. And so there's this really interesting like space where innovation happens, I think, when you allow yourself to go there. And so this channel that I have pulled up right now in Slack, and again, if we screen share this, I have no idea what people are going to see. So hopefully we can just plow through and I can show you some of this and you don't see anything that's too like secretive or private. We'll see what notifications come in. But this is our agent dev channel.
I think you have to AirPlay. I think we lost AirPlay.
Okay, all right. This is our agent dev channel. We'll get this pulled up on the studio computer here in a second. So this is our agent dev channel. This channel is specifically for the agents on our roster that are development oriented. You were joking about this earlier. I had no idea that we'd be on, version 98 of an app within like 48 hours. But that's app development. And there's a side of me that's like, why doesn't everyone do this? And then I realized that this is why no one does this. It requires so much resilience because the technology is new and it's not perfect. And, I have friends like Andre, who runs Social U Studios that we're sitting in right now. He's got very high-end professional developers on his team who do things way faster, more efficiently, more effectively. I'm working with agents that are learning how to work with each other.
So tell us a little bit about the genesis of the idea of the app. So before you got to 498 replies, whatever, but what problem were you trying to solve as the business owner?
Yeah. So the two problems I've been trying to solve lately is how do I free myself from a computer? I don't want to be tied to a device. I don't want to be in my office. I have 3 kids, 7 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. And we recently pulled them out of private school 2 years ago. They are now, I guess technically they're homeschooled. We think of it as world school. There's like a world schooling movement because like I'm speaking all over the world. In the next 12 months, we've gone more into international travel. And I love my office. It's kind of like a studio setup. It's like a little command center. And there's certainly a level of productivity that happens in that space. But I want to be able to free myself from that. And there's something magical with being out on a boat with friends, knowing that work is happening back home. And so one of the ways that we do that is through different forms of interfaces, one of which is voice mode. So when we started building out custom agents, it's one thing to be able to open a ChatGPT app, click on voice, and have that voice experience. And for me, I remember interacting with an LLM for the first time and having the epiphany. I'm like, whoa, this changes everything. But when voice came out, I was like, I could literally drive. Like I used to drive 100,000 miles a year back when I was touring. It's like whether I'm behind the wheel or I'm sitting in a bunk on a tour bus. Yeah, a lot of phone calls, a lot of podcasts. I listen to like much fewer audiobooks and podcasts. I've gone back to reading because reading on paper at home is something that I enjoy because I've gotten time back at home. And now the time on the road, instead of like, I need to listen to something while I'm driving just to pass the time, that's actually more effective work time. And I do it through voice mode. And so one of the apps I built, and all of this is obviously still like very much a work in progress, but we'll try to show my phone here as well. This Agent Vox app, which now I have an Apple developer account. I didn't know that was like a thing, but learned how to use Test Flight. And so this is an entirely AI agent built app. It's called Agent Vox. And so if it's not in the App Store, it just means it has this little yellow dot next to it. And Agent Vox is like voice mode in your favorite AI app, but it's all my custom agents. And so now anybody on the team can basically open this and see their agent team, the agents that they want to talk to the most. So if I'm like, cool, I want to check in with Valor, I can talk to Valor. Hey, Valor, what's up?
Hey, Harris. I'm here and ready. What do you want to focus on?
Okay, and I can immediately click on Vesper, talk to Vesper. Hey, Vesper, how's it going today?
Smooth so far, Harris. I'm ready when you are.
So the feature I'm working on, like that was basically a test to try to get towards something very new, which is the idea of being able to have the equivalent of a Zoom meeting experience without having to sit in front of my computer, or like an old school conference call. Remember the conference call you used to dial into, but with an entire roster of agents. So if you click the conference call button, again, this still has some issues to work through. It puts all of these agents in the room. Hey, Vesper.
Ready when you
Hey, Valor, how's it going?
say the word, Harris, and I'll move it to the top of the stack. What's the one thing you want done first?
So Vesper's still in control. She has the floor, but I can also say, hey, Valor, how's it going today?
Steady and focused, Harris.
And so that is something that, unless there's something out there that someone's built that they're aware of, I don't know anybody doing that, like being able to switch back and forth between agents with different context.
Well, and the thought there is like, hey, you've got an idea. Previously, you would have had to maybe open the Slack app, do a voice, whatever, but then you don't have access to the agents to start doing work. So it's like, one thing is like, as a business owner, I know I struggle with capturing the idea. What do I use? Sometimes I use an Apple Note. Sometimes I send myself an email. It's like now we've got our team working there. And it's not like, hey, is my assistant available? Can you hop on and bring this person on a call, this person? All of a sudden now it's like, hey, I'm going to start a meeting with my copywriter, my developer, my executive assistant, and name one other, whatever. And we're going to brainstorm something.
Totally.
We're not going to take action yet, but then now we brainstorm it. Then we can be clear about what actually happens. And you go back to watching your kid tube, and they're working.
Yes.
On a Saturday.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think what's cool about this is, and this is what I see the difference in how we are thinking about AI versus how a lot of people are thinking about AI, is they have this narrow view. Like, for example, this is not just about an app. Most people are like, oh, cool, you have an AI app. Like, no, this is an interface in one device type that gives me access to an entire AI operating system, because I'm talking to the same agents that I'm talking to in these Slack channels. And so I can create different Slack channels, which means you can have access to the same team member. It's like all three of us having a conversation together. So I can talk to them in voice. I can interact with them in Slack. I could build an entirely different app that has a niche focus. I can show you another one here in a second. I can do it in voice. I can do it with typing. But behind the scenes is an entire operating system that has been architected so that I can live my life the way that I want to live it, and you can interact with the team that you want to. My wife, Kate, she doesn't do voice ever. She likes to sit and type. And so if that's the way she wants to interact with an agent, awesome. She's not contained to a certain use case, which is what I love about it.
I love that it was like an idea. It's like, man, it'd be great if I could do this. And you brainstormed with Leo, who's our developer, and walked you through how to do it. And again, this is this idea. You've got a book coming out called Start With Wow, around kind of like where the information age is gone, the imagination age is here. We even had this conversation this morning. It's like, why aren't more people doing this? And I keep saying, your brain works differently. Like, part of that may be because you adopted magic and illusion so early, and you had to imagine things that most people couldn't imagine and then create it. But I do think that your brain works differently around the imagination, and it's like, you had to imagine this before we could create it. And you're like, how come I can't just teach more people to imagine? And so, which I think is like, that's how you want to help people. But I think sometimes it's like there's this practical, but we as business owners, ideas come at us in so many different ways. What I love is that like this almost harnesses your imagination in a tool that maybe has never been done before, but you're able to create it specific to you. But I'd love to hear this idea around imagination and what is possible around when you have an imagination to be able to create this, because I think it can be overwhelming for people.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's weird to talk about because we were having that conversation, as you said, before we started recording. I was like, dude, I don't think my brain is different. I think I have the same brain that everyone else has.
I've been around you for 15 plus years. It's not true.
It's just maybe what I'm slowly accepting, thanks to friends like you who are saying, hey, here's what you're doing, and it's different from what everyone else is doing, is it's just practiced in not being intimidated by something that feels impossible. And maybe that really is the magician thing. I mean, when you start learning magic tricks when you're a little kid, within the magic industry, we call it the effect. It's like if we didn't have YouTube back then, right?
Yeah.
So you would read magic books written by other magicians. And when you read a book that is written for other magicians, the very first thing that's listed for each trick is called the effect. So before you get into the method or the patter, like the script that you say, but all the other
black
pieces,
magic.
all the other pieces of it, it leads with what's called the effect. And the effect is literally written in the book from the perspective of the audience. Here's what the audience sees. The audience sees the magician pull out a top hat, shows it empty to the audience. He reaches in his hand, says some magic words, reaches in with his hand, pulls out a rabbit. Right? I'm like, oh man. And so you're reading these effects as a little kid, and they're like, that sounds amazing. You're like imagining it the same way that you would imagine a scene when you're reading like a novel or a piece of great fiction. And it's kind of like it's like reading fiction without the movie. So it forces you to imagine what it would look like. And I think from a young age, I was starting getting practiced in, oh, there are these things that are literally impossible. You can't actually materialize life out of a top hat, like an animal, like a rabbit. But clearly using principles of psychology and deception, which is all magic tricks are, there's a way to reverse engineer a pathway to that. And there's two ways to create a magic trick. You can pour out a bunch of magic stuff, like gimmicks, invisible thread, fake fingers, stuff that you're like, what? Those, if you don't know anything about magic, you're like, what is that stuff? That looks weird. And then you can kind of rake through it and go, okay, we could use that invisible thread to like do this stuff and this stuff and this stuff. But you only end up with so many ideas. The most effective creative process for magic, in my opinion, is actually to start with the effect. What does the audience see? And that's a lot of what AI is. You're interacting with like this cool librarian who's memorized all of the world's books, like all this information, knowledge that's ever been recorded. And now agentic AI comes along and it's like, I can just tell that librarian what I want the effect, what the magic trick is that the audience sees, and then it'll go find a way to do that. So it's just this relentless curiosity combined with imagination. Imagine what the final product is. What does the magic trick look like? And then be so curious and resilient that you keep asking the questions to find a way there.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I even think just about the process. You know, we've been real big on thinking about architecture and the team and the people, but it's also the process. What do you want? Like, what is it that you're doing as a human time and time again? And that's a way to kind of even think, like, imagine like, man, if I could have someone else do this process, what would that unlock for me? You know, I mean, when we launched this podcast, you know, this was before we even had agents, you know, so you were editing, you know, from the studio, we'd get a Dropbox file, you'd go through and you'd edit, and then we'd build out the copy, we'd build out social, all this thing. And really, we just documented everything that we did. And we had an agent do that. And now there's a process set up that follows our human expertise that we gave it. And when it sees a file in a folder, it automatically starts a process, tags us, gives us ideas for titles, gives us, you know, so it's not, you know, we don't just use the word AI-slop, you know, like I would say we're big on the 10-80-10, you know, and so what we've done is the 10% has been automated. That 10% we actually don't have to do anymore because the 10% is just showing the file. Then the agent does the 80%, and then we do the final 10% to make sure, hey, it's in our voice. Things are the way we want it to be presented, and not just. Which I think there's, you know, content factories out there that are just doing it without any human intervention. We're not. We're big on not doing that.
I can show one if you want to see one.
Let's do it.
So one day it just occurred to me, I was like, why can't we just have a podcast specific agent that just regularly scans a Dropbox folder? And as soon as a finished edited podcast episode hits that folder, there's no reason why the agents can't handle the entire process because we've now done the human work of going, yes, quality check, this is done. And what's really cool is now even here, this studio, they do a great job of just, hey, how can we make this even more efficient from you? We're getting to the point now where we can almost just leave the studio with that polish already applied. So it hits the Dropbox folder, an agent named Dolby, named after like the guy who did all the sound stuff, right? Not to be confused with Dobby, the elf, but Dolby. This was literally a message that he generated Tuesday, August 11th. Say a new podcast episode detected for one of our other podcasts, The Wisdom of Wow. It's episode 9, files present. So he went and found that. And then this whole thread is basically him telling everybody what was going on. So if we scroll back up to the top, he likely, it's quite,
little
quite
bit
the
of work.
thread.
Yep.
He likely triggered the other agents. So Ari, because he mentioned Victor and Ari chimed in and says, hey, I've already reacted. I'll stand by for the audio and transcript. Victor says, hey, confirmed on my side. Here's what I found in Dropbox. Says a bunch of stuff. Dolby's like, confirmed.
And so Ari's the copywriter. So Ari's waiting for the, he takes the transcript and then starts to brainstorm hooks, titles. We've trained him on YouTube specialty. So he knows, hey, how should we title this?
Yes.
And he gives us multiple titles. I think you probably get down. There's, I know with Story of Scale, I don't know on this one.
I mean, I wasn't involved in this. Ben jumped in and troubleshooted this, but I'm realizing now and reading through this thread, what happened was Victor noticed, hey, usually when Dolby finds an episode, there's a video file and an audio file. And Victor knows, don't go pull the video file because that goes back to efficiency of tokens and compute. We want to make sure that he doesn't pull a video file. He's going to pull the audio and transcribe that because the file sizes are smaller. And so Ben just jumps in and says, oh, I can fix that. So Ben fixes it. A human. Ben's a human. He's an awesome human. So then he tells, hey, Dolby, go check now. I basically created the audio for you. So now Victor goes and creates a transcript, hands it off to Ari. Ari drafts all the assets, recommended title, worries and misuse of imagination. All of this is being done inside of Notion. So we use Notion as our second brain and knowledge base. So the agents who need Notion access or write access or read access, they all have that set up. That's already a part of the
historical
architecture.
for us. It's there. It's not just living in Slack.
Correct.
We can edit directly in there with human text,
Correct. And if you continue to go through, basically what happens is they troubleshoot with each other. If there's any trouble, Ari turns over the assets. Victor takes the files, uploads them to YouTube via a built-in API connection.
And Buzzsprout, which is what we use to, or is it?
For like socials and stuff?
Transistor.
Yeah, Transistor for audio. Yep, puts it on audio. It takes all these assets that Ari wrote that one of us approved. And just sets the description, sets the title, sets all the YouTube videos.
And I've worked with companies where we had literally a human dedicated to doing this. We'd
only
be putting only that.
Yeah.
Or
and
50% of their job would be.
And we have 3 agents that handled it across 4 podcasts over the last 4 months. And
that process probably took, the reality is the thing that takes that process longer than anything is the human interacting with it. The good news is we built it where they can't just do it on their own. Right. It's not that you could do that. You could set it, hey, just do it. We trust you. Just go and do it. And then we could, but that's not what, it's like I know they don't finalize a title until we're okay with it.
Correct.
That type of thing. Copy the angle, because an agent can look at it and the angle that we intended the audience to have, they could focus more on one angle versus the other. And even though if it's better for YouTube, but we say, hey, this is actually the angle that we want to focus on, we'll focus on that.
Yeah, totally. And again, I would encourage everyone listening in, you guys got to think about this from like an AI architecture lens. Think of it as an operating system. It's not just, I can go chat with a bot. And some people are still using LLMs the way that people were using Google back in the early 2000s. I could give you so many examples
While you're doing that, you might, if this is where you're coming to for the first time or you haven't listened to all the episodes, and you're wondering who's Ari, who's Leo, who's Chase. If you go to astoria.com/AI team, we've actually built a resource. We've updated it. Previously it was 27 agents. It's now 29 agents, but it's a 30-page report that basically each agent has a profile, gives you a quick overview of what they do, what connections they have, what integrations they have, and why. And we've built that to help you just be inspired about what could you create if you started to sit down and just look at the architecture. And so it's really trying to be a behind the scenes resource to give you the option to just start to get a notebook out. Like, man, if I could create this, create that, you can go download that. It's a great resource. I mean, the stories I've heard from people is like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I could plug into that. I could do that, and so it's really just a resource to really help you think and give you the option to really think about what's possible in your business.
Yeah, what I was craving, I was like, what are other business owners using agents for? And then you get exposed to like, oh, I didn't even think about building an agent for that. And so it's just a way of seeing like the entire list of, as if they were, as if it were an org chart, naming everyone's roles and a job description for each agent. What does it look like? What role and responsibilities do they have? So it's a great like brainstorming tool and just unlock it's transparent insight.
Well, and the reality in creating an agent, we've talked about this before, but soul files and memory files, it's in essence a job description.
Correct.
Well, we try to give to a human to say, hey, here's who we are, here's what we embody, here's your roles and responsibility, here's what's going to make you successful, here's your guardrails. Like we don't just hire people and just give them the option to go do everything. Like jump into got hired to be a marketing manager, but today I'm going to jump in and do content. And I think sometimes that's what a lot of people are doing in AI. Like you see it, this build a super agent that does everything. It's just not like it just doesn't work.
Not right now, for sure. It's just, and you got all kinds of security issues because your super agent has to have access to all this stuff. We have all of our agents sandboxed. They're on different servers, different places. So
I don't think it's going to get there. I think my bet is specialization. Like this is, I would say, if I'm going to predict, I think this specialization is going to be the thing. Even the people that are talking super agent right now, it's going to be specialization.
Even the limitations in agentic AI we're solving for with multiple agents. That was in the early days. It's like, oh, this agent is not quite there yet. It can't get this thing across the finish line because it needs more prompts. But the moment you get even just 2 agents in a single channel, and if that other bot is allow listed, which I guess is like an open claw term, there's different names for different systems, but now all of a sudden they can activate each other. Now that can be dangerous because you can create these loops that are never ending. But once you get them trained and dialed in, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, Ari creates stuff. Okay, is he just supposed to sit and wait for another human to be like, okay, thanks, Ari. Now go upload it to YouTube. But now they can actually collaborate with each other and make each other's ideas better.
One of the things too that you've got like really sparked me thinking, even my own, because I've got some of my own agents, and there's like some agents are having limitations where you're like, hey, every Sunday I have them going and viewing Reddit boards to actually become an expert on this, so they're all, it's like self-learning, kind of like we as humans, but like, man, how come our employee isn't going and watching this course? It's like if you share on the way over here, the digest, Vesper, walk us through that, like the Vesper digest of like, that then sparked the Claude CLI.
Let's just do like shotgun approach. I'm just going to give you a bunch of examples and let's make sure we do that one. And then what I want to finish on in this episode, so don't let me forget this, is I want to give a bunch of high-level examples so that this feels really approachable. But I really want to return back to the end of getting people to think about not just, oh, I can have an agent go make a restaurant reservation, or I can have an agent go book a plane ticket. It's, oh, I need to think about this from a systemic perspective so that I'm building an operating system. So I was just, actually, while you were talking earlier, I was like, hey, what's the latest on this? I've got a little situation that we're in where it's like, can I get from Portland to San Diego in time? And so this is Atlas, which is just one day I was like, well, gosh, AI or travel agents have like these special, like behind the scenes access to stuff where instead of having to go to whatever.com, they can just see all of the vendors and airlines. And I like, if a human can do that, why can't an agent do that? And so we built a travel agent, essentially, an AI travel agent. So this was them doing flight research. Super simple example. We talked through podcast. Here's another great one. We have Vera, who's an exclusive research agent driven primarily by a Perplexity model. Because I think Perplexity is best at real-time search and research. So like every day we get what's called an industry digest. So if you look at the industries and markets that Astoria is in, you go, okay, we're doing immersive events, we're in the coaching and consulting space, we're paying attention to leadership development within large organizations. And so every morning she comes in, and then I would say like halfway through, like maybe around the 2-month mark, I was like, hey, go ahead and also identify a content angle. So we don't always, but if I wanted to read this, let's see, what is this one? Small business hiring intentions rebound. It's like, okay, 20% of small business owners now plan to create jobs in the next 3 months. That's up 9 points since June. So if I wanted to go write a post on LinkedIn about that, maybe the angle is resilience is not optimism. It's the capacity to reinvest before certainty arrives. And then here's the source of that. So a digest with industry news is a great use of AI. If I go to daily briefs, this gives the team access without them having to go read through our calendars. Not everyone on the team has to read this, but like Vesper already knows what's on my calendar. Birdie already knows what's on Kate's calendar. So now someone like Shane or my human EA, Holly, can come in and just like, okay, friendly reminder, I can look at it here, or she can look at it in the calendar app. Goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's about having multiple interfaces that work the way each person on the team's brain works. Sometimes you'd just rather read a summary. Sometimes
It's flagging emails that need your attention.
correct. Yeah. What were you asking? I said, don't let me forget about that.
Claude
The
said-
AI digest.
Yeah.
So the AI digest is basically, you said you sent some of your agents off on a learning plan. I would say about a third of my agents I have on some type of recurring learning plan. Vesper is the one right now who's primarily responsible for subscribing to like AI industry newsletters. So she gets all that stuff in her email inbox in her Gmail. She synthesizes it. And then twice per week, she gives me a bullet point digest so that I'm aware of like what developments are happening in the AI space. Now, the alternative to that is me having to go through all that information, pay attention to it, read all those email newsletters. And I'm subscribed to some of them too. But on the days that I'm busy, I literally just delete them from my inbox because I have this safety net of going, oh, Vesper got this same email and a whole bunch of other ones that I don't have time to read. She's going to distill this down. And she's doing that. That might not sound that impressive, but what makes it really cool and valuable is that she's doing that with existing context of the way we are already using AI. So she's looking at all this news going, we have 2 agents that play that role and we use Slack and we have some OpenClaw agents and some Claude CLI agents and some other productized off-the-shelf agents and some Hermes agents. That's actually applicable to us. This other new thing is not, because Harris has already told me 15 times he's not interested in that.
You
So
could
she's
chase,
never,
you could chase every AI rabbit hole if you wanted.
yeah, but she's never going to bring me like, hey, here's how to use AI to create the perfect like social media content, because I'm very anti use AI to write all your stuff for you. That's a human skill that I think entrepreneurs should be dialing in. I'm not a fan of AI-slop. And so I have a strong point of view. Like when I send an email out to my email list, my hands have been all over that email. I either wrote it all myself from scratch, or someone on the team outlined an email strategy or a series that's like, hey, I think we should run a campaign. It should be 7 emails. Email number 1 should be this.
Yeah, here's
The final
theme, here's the
email is like
takeaway.
a little reminder email about the price going up on tickets. And then I will take those outlines and then sit down and still write. But that's a skill I don't want to lose. And I think the entrepreneurs that are doubling down on, oh, I can just have AI generate all my content now, they're losing trust and authority. They're burning it so fast. So fast. So Vesper's never going to come back and be like, look at this cool new tutorial of how to build your social media system with AI. Because I'm like, hey, we use it in this way, not in this way. So it's not generic. It's customized. It's customized. Okay, the thing that I wanted to say, close on, is just to think about systems. And I've got another great example that I think does this. And so I'll show you a combination of 2 things, one of which is a Slack channel, and the other of which is here on my phone. So where should we start? Let's start with this Slack channel here on my laptop. In the early days, I built a sort of like health and wellness oriented agent named Valor. I gave Valor access to like all my health data, my blood panels. I have a Function Health membership, which, by the way, this is not like a sponsored video by Function Health, but if you're like, what's Function Health and how does that work? And you're AI friendly and you're like, just go get yourself a Function Health membership. I'll drop a link down in the description so you can go check them out. I'll try to find a link with a discount code or something so you can check that out. But Function Health for like $500 a year or less gives me regular blood panels every 90 days, every 6 months if I want. And so I take all that data of like, okay, take your labs, take your sleep data from your ring, take your fitness data from your watch, give an AI agent access to it. I shouldn't have to say this, guys. I'm not trying to replace my doctor.
Yeah.
Like I have a doctor. I text with them now. We have a great relationship, but I'm not trying to replace my doctor with AI. But so much of science has to do with reading and absorbing and synthesizing large amounts of data, trying to find the pattern to figure out what story is this data telling.
By the time you're able to talk to the doctor, you're able to leverage his time way more valuable because
Yes.
you can be very specific about what you need,
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
Whereas I know I was just in and it's like, I feel dumb asking this question.
Yes.
Right. But now you get to ask the dumb questions to
Yes.
dig and get to the really smart question that then the doctor
Mm-hmm.
has only his or her expertise to help you with.
Yeah. So I think the danger is obviously like we go, one, we're not back in the WebMD days where you're like, my throat hurts. And then the internet's like, you might have cancer.
Yeah.
So it takes a self-aware person,
Mhm.
I think, a responsible, mature, self-aware person to have access to this technology and to know what type of questions to ask.
But Valor will also give you a meal plan based on
Correct.
what
Correct.
your goals. He has access to your goals, what you're doing.
Correct.
If your sleep score was lower, you need to focus on this, that type of thing.
100%. 100%. So that's what Valor does.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him access to data. I started learning all these things about my health, which, by the way, my doctor would have missed.
Mm-hmm.
My old doctor would have missed. My old doctor, I got to make sure this doesn't become a rant about the healthcare system. My old doctor stopped being willing to see me because did not agree that I should be using platforms like Function Health to pull my own labs. So it's like, if you want someone to read your labs for you or to collaborate with you, you just need to go talk to the person who ordered your labs. And I'm like, but I'm the one who ordered my labs. It's like, well, the average person shouldn't just be walking into a Quest and paying cash to have their blood drawn just to see what's going on in their body. But I'm like, but little fun fact about me, my lipase right now is in the mid 500s. That's pretty high. Top end of the range is supposed to be 70. My GP would not have caught that because I only go in for an annual physical.
Yeah.
Everything else says, call me if there's a problem. I feel totally fine. I don't have pancreatitis, but there's something going on in my pancreas, which is why my lipase level is so high.
Mm-hmm.
I only knew that because I pull my labs regularly and I give them to a tool that helps me interpret them.
Mm-hmm.
So you fast forward through all this. Now I have a concierge doc who's like friendly with it and loves what I'm building. He's like, dude, this is so cool. Let's collaborate.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Slack for a second and we'll end on this. This was a morning performance brief from Valor just telling me, hey, I interpreted your sleep scores. And then he told me way more than my Aura app tells me. He's saying, I got up early to drive down to Chattanooga this morning, so sleep score was only 69. My readiness score is 73.
God, I killed you today.
You did kill me
I got
today.
up early too.
And check this out. Aura doesn't have my calendar. Valor accesses my calendar, so he knows my schedule load. So Valor's going, you slept like this. You had to get up at 6 a.m. to drive to Chattanooga. You got an all-day content recording block. Here's the priority. Protect stage and recording capacity. Training, recover only. Don't go crushing the gym today, lifting a bunch of heavy weights. Take 2 easy 10-minute walks. Now you go, okay, that's pretty cool. You got a custom agent who's taking multiple data sources. But get this. Last night at 8:04 p.m., he says, hey, tomorrow starts with this. Don't forget your sleep the night before also sucked. If the recovery walk didn't happen, let it go. 5 minutes of easy mobility. This is what you should do. Quick dinner gap. I do not have tonight's dinner logged. What did you eat? Now, does that mean that every time I eat a meal, I go to Slack and sit down and be like, hey, Valor, I just ate a cheeseburger from Five Guys? No, I don't have to. And this is what gets us back to the
To be honest, you wouldn't tell Valor that. You would just do it.
No, I would. So let's go back to my phone for a second. Because what I realized is like, just like Aura, the Aura app that controls my Ring data doesn't have access to my calendar. My calendar tool doesn't know what my sleep score was or the walk that I logged with my Apple Fitness app. There was no single iPhone app that allows me to give Valor all of the data that I want to be able to give him without sitting down and typing in a computer. So what I built was an app called Valeo, Valeo OS, because I think of it like an operating system. And all of this is an interface. So if you think about this as an app, you're already in the wrong mindset. It's, I want to be able to talk to Valor in Slack. I want to be able to talk to Valor in voice while driving down the road or going for a walk or in the gym in my headphones. And I want to be able to log things on my phone if that's my preferred way of doing it. So you'll see up here, there's no macros logged for the day because I haven't logged any meals. I haven't logged any water, but I have drank 20 ounces of water. That's not super innovative. There are tons of apps that do that. But if you scroll down, here's my Aura data pulled in. This was Valor's plan. These 2 10-minute easy walks that he told me in Slack, it's also here. But here's what's cool about this. I took all of my wellness protocols, which is a combination between my concierge doc, my personal trainer, AI, and Valor. And I say, okay, my morning protocol. What does my morning protocol entail? Well, you can see it. It's being shared publicly. My morning protocol is eat breakfast. I'm doing Brazil nuts right now because that's something doctor recommended based on my nutrition plan. And these are some supplements that I'm on. I was always forgetting to take my supplements. Well, there's an app for that. Well, that will remind you to take your supplements, but it doesn't track my macros. And even if there's an app that does supplements and macros, it doesn't give me a workout plan. So I brought it all together. Now, here's what's cool. I can build a meal library, which is actually also done in Notion. So Notion is another interface. If I want to go log what I ate in Notion, or I can just tell Valor what I ate, or I can do it here in the app and say, I ate a breakfast burrito. Now, because it's a meal library, the macros are already saved. The moment I collapse this, it logs it. And now if I go up and refresh the app, it's displaying my macros for the day. Now, let's say I want to talk to Valor because I'm in the gym and I'm going, hey, Valor, oh man, you told me to only take 2 10-minute walks, but I really want to do some squats and some bicep curls really quick in my garage. I can talk to Valor. It's the same as the other voice app. Hey, Valor, what's up?
Hey, Harris. Hey, Harris. I'm here. What are we working on right now?
So if you've ever worked out with a personal trainer, you know how valuable it is for them to log your sets, right? Like, oh, he just did 10 reps with 20-pound barbells. He did 3 sets. The next week, I go back and I'm like, what did I lift last time I was in here? It's the equivalent of a trainer is walking around. And now I can just have Valor in my ears or headphones or on a Sonos speaker in my garage walking me through a workout as if I have a personal trainer there. But all of this stuff is working together into a singular operating system. So again, don't just think, how do I build an app? Think, is this app a self-contained app where all the data is in that? Or is it just an extension that gets you away from your computer? It's a different way to interact with the same data, the same server, the same knowledge base. So now I can voice talk to Valor. I can type to Valor. I can say, I don't need Valor right now. I'm just going to go into Notion and log what I ate today. But he can always look at it. So when I talk to him or when I type with him, it's all a part of a big, huge system. And now, dude, what's really exciting about all this to me is think like 3 years from now. And I need imaging done on something going on in my body. And it's like, hey, we can't figure out what's going on. I now have, well, here's my blood panel every 90 days for the last 3 years. Here's everything I put into my body. And imagine being able to send off an AI agent or having one who's already done it in real time going, hey, well, 2 years ago, Harris started eating a lot more red meat. And notice 6 months later, all this stuff started happening. And then he cut it out at this 1.5 year mark. And then this started happening and he started sleeping better. So these patterns finally have the ability to emerge because I've given it access to data. And I think the average human is either not thinking about this at all, or the idea of inputting all that data feels too intimidating. And all I've done is remove the friction so it's easy to gather.
As a business owner, there's a lot on your plate every day. So it's like health for health's sake is one thing, but health for like top-notch performance. So you show up and you can be the best, you can have the best ideas, you can lead the best. And this is something we all as business owners struggle with, right? And we all know that our health gives us energy, energy drives ideas, ideas drive the business forward. So while it feels like, oh, this is just this like offsite, like this is why I would say it's important to the business. You're not only, hey, like you're thinking about, hey, how do I stay active with my kids for as long as possible and things of that nature. And I talked to something, and it's like, it just feels overwhelming to think about your health. And the reality is that wasn't that hard to set up. It may feel like it's hard, but all these things, the Aura Ring, the Apple, like there's so much API in the back end,
like none of this like ate up my week. This was like a little side project. It's the on the boat hanging out, and it's like, hey, you got a new update, and so I install it, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that icon. Hey guys, can you go swap that emoji out in the design of the UX to a cool like custom icon. And then they go off and they do the work. So it's just kind of stuff that you can do as you go because of the new technology. And the point of this is not, hey, every business owner listening in should go build their own health and wellness operating system. It's just another example. We could give you 100 examples like this. It's another example that shows you what's possible. So take any part of your business and replace what I just showed you with that thing. Use your imagination, get really curious, and you might be surprised by what you can build. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that. Any final thoughts as we conclude this episode and we move on to next episode that's going to dive into your book, a companion book that we also have coming out with our Chief Operating Officer, Shane McKenzie.
Yes.
And then we're actually going to be doing a series around that. But anything that we can do to just kind of put a bow on AI. We're going to kind of put AI on the back burner for a few weeks. I'm sure we'll come back to it. But anything you want some final thoughts?
Yeah. So I would say this is an AI series, not an AI podcast. So if this is the first episode you stumbled across, go listen back to the entire AI architecture series. To Chad's point, I'm sure we'll return to it from time to time. But this is a podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners of businesses of all sizes. And this is all about helping you live a story that's truly worth scaling and bringing you actionable insights, not stuff that like worked years ago, stuff that we're actively trying and experimenting with in our business. And we're transparently sharing that with you in a way that a lot of entrepreneurs aren't. And so I would say subscribe, keep listening. Grab the roster that Chad referenced earlier. What's the link again if they want to go download
if you go to astoria.com, istoria.com/AI team, you can go ahead and download that. I think one thing I would say is that I think we're living, if you are only using AI as like a chatbot like we talked about, or maybe you've started to use Claude, Cowork, I think this is like 3 years from now, if you're saying, you look back, it would be like saying that you didn't have a website at one point. Like if you are not thinking about how agentic is being leveraged in your business, it would be like you saying you don't have a website.
Yeah.
Which, at some point, websites, that was never even a thing, right? Believe it or not, in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it was like an essential. And I think agentic agents in your business is going to be like having a website. And people are going to be asking, hey, how many human employees do you have? And how many agent employees do you have? Which I think is totally fine. I mean, technology has always improved and continued to improve efficiency. I mean, we talked about this one time when it was like, when I first started work, we had people that literally sat at the fax machine and collected papers and walked them over. And I remember a guy was like, hey, we're going to have a paperless office. Everything's going to be digital. And I was like, no way, there's no chance, so just things continue to improve and we've got to continue to adapt. And I think this may be the biggest gap of adaptation that we're experiencing in the business landscape, which is why it's important to be talking about it.
Yeah, which actually tees us up nicely because the thing that's missing in the average business owner's arsenal is no longer the technology. It's here. We covered it. And so it already exists. Why are people not using it? And even those who are, why are they not using it better? And it's because they are missing the thing that I think the future is all about. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in the next episode. The shift from the information age to the imagination age and how the future belongs to the business owners and leaders who start not with how do I do this, but learn how to start with wow. So that's it for this episode. It was a little bit longer than our usual episodes, but hopefully you found something helpful. If so, subscribe, like this video, drop a comment down below, drop your questions. We'll happily answer them. We'd love to help you with this stuff. So drop your question down below. We'll make sure we spend some time in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one here on The Story of Scale. Thanks so much for listening. Bye-bye.
The Story of Scale podcast is a production of the Astoria Studio, recorded on location in Chattanooga, Tennessee at Socially You Studios. For more resources on how to not only scale your business, but live a story worth scaling, visit astoria.com/scale.